Hey guys, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles! In the last episode, we started the trial for the very last adventure in the first game, and we already heard the witness testimony of these two Skulkin brothers here, but we already determined that they are lying, and we can remember from the night of the incident that there were two shady-looking people at the crime scene, and it's very likely that it has been these two. So let's just get right into the cross-examination. Illegal entry. We was walking down Baker Street in the small hours and the gas door was ajar, say?
It was like some kind of sign begging for us to get in with.
Oh, I forgot. I have to press, of course. So let's press.
Hold it!
The front door of Windybanks was ajar, you say. What time of night was this? Must have been about 1, right, Ringo?
Yeah, I'd say so. Right, Skulkin? How would I know? The place would have been shut at 1 in the morning, just like every other shop in town.
Well, it was pitch black inside, it's true. Ain't that right, Ringo?
I'm not so sure, Nash. I seem to remember a little light burning inside. What about you, Skulkin? You older muck? Leave me alone.
There definitely was a small lamp burning inside. That's what alerted us to the situation in the first place. And when these gentlemen ventured into the open establishment, the accused Miss Gina Lestrade already had the muzzle of a gun trained on the unfortunate victim.
Objection!
That is pure conjecture. Perhaps, but it changes nothing. These brothers inadvertently wandered into the middle of a cold-blooded murder, simply because they found the door of the victim's establishment open and ventured inside. Right, that's what happened. Very fishy.
It was like some kind of sign begging for us to go in, was.
Hold it! What are you trying to suggest? That you had to go in? Well, good moves in mysteries always, they say, don't they, Ringo?
They do, Nash, they do. Must have been some sort of providence, I reckon.
God's will often present itself as the whim of thieves. Does it? It wasn't a whim. I'm dead sure of that.
It weren't, Nash, it weren't. Like we said at the time.
You don't just find doors open in the middle of the night like that. No, there's no two ways about it.
It was a sign that our long-lost brother was inside.
They're not very good liars, are they?
Well, you can't deny it. It led us to a bloke what looks just like our brew. I said cut it out. Those chips are getting a chomping today.
But once we got inside, cold blimey lummy, we heard a gunshot from the back room.
Hold it!
A gunshot, you say? Just the one. Are you sure about that? Yup, just the one, Governor. Can swear to that.
It was, Nash, it was. And ain't that right, Briv? The firearm used belonged to the victim himself.
Yes, Mr. Windybank always used to leave his gun lying around on the counter.
Right, I remember.
When we examined it, we found the revolver was completely out of rounds.
That makes sense. Mr. Windybanks always used to say he only ever kept a single bullet loaded.
That's true, I remember him saying that as well. So we can say with considerable certainty that only a single round was discharged from the firearm used at the murder weapon.
Yes, my lord, we can.
And I should remind the court that the firearm in question was discovered in the hand of the accused. Wonderful.
Went to see what was what, but the door was locked from the inside.
Hold it! Do you mean the door between the main shop and the storeroom?
If my learned friend is having difficulty grasping the situation, perhaps a drawing would help. Excluding the shop's entrance from the street, there is only one other door, that of the storeroom.
Of course, there was only a little oil lamp burning. Not much to see by.
And the door was hidden behind a curtain and all.
That's right. When we arrived, the door was mostly obscured by the curtain. Tell me, why exactly did you try to open that door?
Eh?
Any normal petty thief would run at the sound of a gunshot, I think.
Oh, well, you turn to Rabbit Ringo.
Well, Nash, yeah. I suppose you'd have to say we're normal, eh?
Broadly speaking, humans respond in one of two ways on hearing a gunshot or scream. The timid flee, gripped by fear, while the courageous investigate to see if they might help. These gentlemen of the latter inclination, my learned Nipponese friend, it would seem, is of the former.
Alright, somehow I just proved that I was a coward that night. Thank you, counsels. So I believe we all understand that the door was locked and could not be opened. Proceed, witnesses.
We never did nothing, Governor. We never took nothing. We just left after that nice and quiet.
Hold it!
You didn't do or take anything. Is that your story?
Well, it was Bedlam Sooners, weren't it?
It was, Nash, it was. Didn't even have time to pull my dukes up my Lucy lockets.
So with no time to take your hands out of your pockets, you just left. Nice and quietly, you say.
That's right, Governor. Nothing we hate more than that violence. Peace-loving nibblers we are, not bludgers.
We are, Nash, we are. Never even pulled my dukes out of my Lucy lockets.
So you'd clearly like us to believe.
Oh, come again.
As you fled from the pawnbrokers that night, did you not run into anyone else? And did you not fire a gun at the person?
Saints alive, they fired a gun, you say? Oh! Blime, Governor!
You ain't telling us it was you in the doorway.
It was.
Why the bleeding Nora?
Didn't you mention that before?
You were armed with a gun, and as you fled the scene, you fired that gun at London's greatest detective, Sherlock Holmes.
They shot the great Mr. Sholmes? I did hear that, actually. There was a rumor that he'd been rushed to the hospital.
The great Sholmes, that's beyond the pale.
On the night in question, this pair were arrested by the police within minutes of the discovery of the crime scene. The suspicious lieutenants rapidly gave them away.
Yeah.
And when searched, a firearm was indeed found in their possession. Furthermore, the barrel shows signs of a shot having been fired from it. The prosecution invites his lordship to examine the firearm recovered from these brothers.
Yes, indeed. Remnants of powder around the muzzle, as you say, counsel.
The court will hold this weapon as evidence. So Skulkin Brothers' gun has been entered into the court record. Skulkin Brothers' gun, a firearm found in the possession of the Skulkin Brothers upon their arrest. There are signs that a single round was fired.
Now, my learned Nipponese friend,
Yes?
here's to you successfully presenting the evidence. Yes, there are the telltale signs of spent powder on this gun, and a single bullet missing from the cylinder. But the prosecution demands evidence that it was fired at the scene of the crime, under scrutiny in this trial.
Objection!
Well, I don't need evidence. Because I was there.
Objection!
However, the rest of us in this courtroom will not. If the defense fails to provide evidence in support of its rash claim, we shall have no choice but to toast your incompetence and move on.
Evidence that these two fired that gun before they left Windybanks that night. We can provide that. The court demands that all claims are affirmed with clear proof. What evidence shows that these witnesses unloaded a firearm in the pawnbroker's shop that night? Well, I'm pretty sure that this should be enough. So we are just going to present this. The evidence is in this portfolio. What on earth have you there, counsel? During the course of our investigations, we discovered a number of bloodstains.
Not trusting the police to do the job they're trained to do. How arrogantly Nipponese of you.
Well, anyway, we analyzed the blood samples we found and recorded the results in this portfolio. And you claim to have the evidence the court is demanding therein? Yes, my lord. No more dallying then, counsel. Present the pertinent evidence at once. What do you have in your portfolio that proves these witnesses unloaded a firearm at the scene? Well, it's this, so let's go. What is that? Explain. It's a photographic print taken at Windybank's pawnbrokery in the day of the incident. From the scene of the crime, is it? Is that a bullet hole? And if my eyes do not deceive me, it appears the bullet is still lodged there. Yes, as your lordship noticed. The bullet pierced Mr. Windybank's calendar. The date shown being the 16th of April, the very day the pawnbroker is there. The incident occurred at 1 hour after midnight. But this indicates that a separate shot had been fired sometime after the calendar had been set to the 16th. That's right, and while it isn't irrefutable, the defense believes this is credible evidence that the witnesses did fire a round from their gun in the pawnbrokers that night.
No!
Order! How does the prosecution stand, Lord Van Zieks?
If that is the direction my learned friends wishes to take, the prosecution has no objection.
What?
But you'll forgive me for flinging my hallowed chalice aside in disgust at the repugnancy it exposes.
Yes, on the night in question.
The brothers entered the pawnbrokery illegally. And like the bold baddies they claim to be, opened fire on the new arrivals before fleeing back onto the street.
Yeah!
Take it easy there, Governor. You gonna land us on the soup?
Weird deal. You weren't gonna get into them details. Tell him, Skulky. Set the bloke straight. I have nothing to add.
So he knew, did he? Van Zieks knew that testimony would almost certainly expose the extent of their crimes.
It would seem now that I owe my learned Nipponese friend a word of gratitude.
What do you mean?
What I mean is that you have helpfully confirmed an important fact.
To what fact do you refer, Lord Van Zieks?
As has been established, At the point of their arrest, a single shot had been fired from the brothers' gun. However, if that shot found its target in Mr. Shaw's, then clearly these witnesses cannot be accused of the fatal shooting of the proprietor and victim. In other words, these two men have no material connection to the murder of Mr. Windybank at all.
So that's it?
That's it. We didn't have nothing to do with it.
We didn't, Nash, we didn't. That's what I reckon.
Your crimes include unlawful entry, intent to steal, perjury, and, let us not forget, attempted murder.
Quite a catalogue, huh, fellas? We're in for it now, bro.
Now then, let us take a moment to consider the aforementioned great detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. It would seem the man patronized the pawnbrokers in question somewhat regularly.
Where's he going with this?
Mr. Sholmes appears to take pleasure in tinkering with eccentric machinery.
Eccentric? Says who?
Not me, don't give me that look.
He installed a pair of machines like this one in the victim's shop.
Oh, that's one of Early's red-handed recorders.
What is that, Counsel? It has the appearance of a photographic contraption.
As your lordship has surmised, it is indeed a camera attached to a small timing device.
Every half an hour, it automatically photographs the interior of the establishment. The idea being that if a thief were to break into the shop, he would be caught red-handed.
The prosecution has obtained the photographs taken by the device on the night in question. As the court will observe, copious identical prints are produced in a quite desultory fashion.
Rather prodigal, I feel.
In fact, there are two such devices in the victim's shop, my lord. If I may refer the court to the plan of the premises, the respective positions are here and here.
You say these cameras produce a print every half hour. I'm afraid I fail to see how that would help if the anticipated thief conducted his activities in one of the many 30-minute intervals.
One can only pray that the would-be criminal lingers, my lord. On the night in question, the witnesses currently in the stand were not caught on camera.
That's a bit of a fry truck, huh, bruv?
Lady Lux loves a Skulkin.
Witnesses, at what time did your trespassing begin?
Must have been just after 1. Right, bruv?
Must have been, Nash, must have been. You just gone 1.
In which case, minutes before these brothers entered the establishment. What scene might we expect to see within this shop? Let us examine the evidence.
Good lord! It's the defendant! Miss Gina Lestrade!
As the court can clearly see, the The accused is pictured, gun in hand, facing the victim over the shop counter. No doubt coercing the proprietor to open the door to his storeroom.
Quite. One can only too easily imagine the events that unfolded. The court will take this photographic print as evidence, if you please, counsel.
The photograph of Gina has been entered on the court record. Photograph of Gina. Photograph taken automatically by the red-handed recorder showing the scene of a short time before the murder took place.
I don't believe it, Ginny!
In short, the accused is the only person who could possibly have killed Mr. Windybag.
I say, my lord.
Wonder if I might put in a word at this point. Go ahead, Mr. Foreman. Took a bally bullet to the knee in the Battle of May 1, 1880, don't you know? Decorated for it and all that, but forced to retire from service, sadly. Of course, a medal can never outshine the exploits of chaps like us on the battlefield. Yes, Mr. Foreman, and what exactly is your point? Carried on the battlefield, battle after retirement, you see, the battle of daily life, if you like. And here I am now, leading this small squadron, 6 men, all good and true. And we'll all go down together, you mark my words, one for all, and all for one.
The ladies and gentlemen of the jury have reached agreement, have they? Is that what we are to understand?
Well, Mr. Foreman, is that correct? In a manner of speaking, yes. That is the Garrett Squadron's position, sir.
What? No, it's too soon to make a judgment here.
Status report for the court. Men, on the double.
His lordship insists on promptitude at all times, and that goes for making decisions too.
I think you'll find the truth as clear as a day now. I could reach out and touch it. I wouldn't have left it in there. I just wouldn't. But in all honesty, I can't actually remember.
Situation clear. Stop. No room for doubt. Stop. Truth now undeniable. Stop.
I am very sorry for brothers. They are unlucky. Very well. I now call upon each member of the jury to state his or her leaning in this matter. Announce your considered verdicts to the court.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Uh-oh. That's not good.
It does indeed appear that the jury is unanimous in its leaning already.
That photograph. It must be the definitive evidence that Gregson mentioned.
But Ginny didn't shoot him.
No, of course not. My lord, the defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination.
Very well. The court grants permission.
So, you refuse to admit defeat again? Unsurprising.
We shall proceed immediately with the summation examination. Mr. Foreman, are all members of the jury ready? Absolutely, sir. Always ready for action, my chaps. Very good. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty.
Judicial findings. The jurors' contentions. Alright guys, we haven't quite reached the half-hour mark, but we are quite close and this is going to take some time. So I'm gonna call it quits for this episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. If you wanna find out how we are going to sway the jury in this section of the game, you'll have to tune in next time.
See you then.